Hello. Welcome to Bougie Chronicles. Here at F Squad, where we focus on being over 40, fit, fine, and fabulous. It's a beautiful Friday afternoon. Just in my car, trying to do something different and talk about something different. So I recently read or listened to, the latest book I listened to is Unfuck Your Brain. Unfuck Your Brain, I guess it's YouTube. But it's very interesting. It's an interesting read because it kind of clearly explains the quagmire that most of us or everybody finds ourselves in when we experience traumatic events that we don't heal from. Remember, in my previous videos, I referenced the fact that everybody has a cray-cray within them. So reading this book kind of made it easy for me to explain concisely who exactly cray-cray is, or the cray-cray that everyone has within them. So the brain consists of the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, and the brainstem. The prefrontal cortex is the rational. The amygdala is the emotional, that records events and feelings, the storytelling part of your brain. And the brainstem takes action. When everything is operating well, the prefrontal cortex encounters a situation, assesses it, gives information to the amygdala, which records the emotion and the feeling, and then directs the brainstem to act accordingly. But this is why you don't remember things like where you put your phone or your keys, but you remember the exact moment. For instance, when the 9/11, the planes hit the buildings, you remember because that's a traumatic event and there was feeling attached to it. That's just an extreme example, but everyone experiences some level of trauma, and when the trauma is intense, for the amygdala to heal and process, or take the chance to heal from the trauma, the amygdala records that feeling and story as danger, or whatever it is, it's danger, and it then sends messages chemically through the hypothalamus, whatever it is, I forget, directing the brainstem to act accordingly. Now, how to visualize the amygdala when it's in a traumatic state, or it remembers a traumatic incident. For example, you're driving down Avenue X, you got into an accident, it was very traumatic, maybe people died, and if you don't get the chance to heal and process through it, every time you're on that street or you see something that reminds you of it, amygdala sends you into panic because it remembers the story and it's stuck in the story. So essentially, it's like having Incredible Hulk in your brain. This is why people act crazy, because once it's triggered, and remember, the prefrontal cortex, like 5% power, 95% of the power, amygdala. So if amygdala is acting crazy, oh no, you're in trouble, because as soon as it's triggered, Incredible Hulk, think of the Incredible Hulk, as soon as it triggers Incredible Hulk, there's no talking to Incredible Hulk once he's turned green until he goes through the emotion and then comes out of it and he's naked somewhere. That's the only time you can talk to him. But once it's triggered, it's triggered. And what does he do? Smashes it. So you realize and you understand what happens when people haven't healed PTSD, once it's triggered, they will have to ride out that emotion. So in essence, you really want to try and work on your triggers when things are normal, before you get into a triggering situation, or constantly. I guess that's why it's important to have therapy, to have therapy sessions, or, like we do an annual, actually I should think of setting that up. We do have annual physicals every year. You go in and check. I guess it would be prudent or important to kind of have like a mental checkup, especially if you have specific traumas. Before you get in a situation that is triggering for you, you want to have been doing the work, empowering the communication between prefrontal cortex and amygdala, so that you can be able to catch amygdala before it turns completely green. In the nanosecond, if you can probably catch the incredible Hulk before it turns green, and have that mental thing be like, it's okay. Remember, this is not real. This is not real. It's perceived danger, because amygdala cannot tell the difference between real and perceived danger. Once it's in heightened, it's like having King Kong up in your brain, and then you're wondering why people are acting crazy. Have you ever had, I don't know about you, but it happens where you have girlfriends who just do some dumb shit, and especially if it has to do with relationships. You know what I'm saying? When you're younger, it's kind of okay. Prefrontal brain, it takes up to age 25 for it to fully develop. So in college, high school, people do dumb shit, yes. But if it continues after that, and you're not learning or improving, or at least being self-aware, amygdala is kind of nutty up in there, because every time you're in a situation, especially when they've had trauma in their lives relating to low self-esteem or just a bunch of shit, then every time you're in a triggering situation, they never catch themselves before the Hulk breaks everything down, because the Hulk will break the whole shebang down, and then the next day you have to wake up and pick up after yourself, because you weren't able to catch the Hulk. You didn't do the work required prior to being triggered. I guess a good example is if you come out of a relationship, particularly a bad relationship, you want to do everything you can to heal yourself. If you need to go and see someone and get therapy and things like that, you definitely want to do that, because if you don't, the moment you find another relationship and the person does something remotely similar to what happened in that situation, you're triggered and you start acting crazy, and you're not able to catch yourself because you didn't exercise the muscle that allows you to get a stronger communication between prefrontal and amygdala. Because when your amygdala is acting crazy, you're in trouble. Because amygdala will just grab the joystick, the steering wheel from the prefrontal cortex and start driving. Now imagine the Incredible Hulk is driving the car. You hitting every car in the street, you doing dumb shit, you hurting yourself. Because the Hulk is just crazy. He's crazy, and he's way stronger than prefrontal cortex. Way stronger, because everything that deals with the amygdala, it's really grooves that are set in the brain pathways, the grooves that are dug in deep, and it's repeated. So it's not like the amygdala is just some crazy uncontrollable part of you. It can get crazy, but essentially the amygdala is just trying to keep you alive, because your crazy behind hasn't been doing what you need to, you know what I'm saying, to get out of danger, or it's perceiving it that way because it's the same feeling. It's experiencing this danger. It can't tell the difference between it's a perceived danger. It's just trying to get you the hell out of it. And you don't want to numb the amygdala, because it keeps you alive. It keeps you safe. But you want to be able to empower it to be able to discern the difference between perceived danger and real danger. So it's just a little crazy. So it was very interesting. But the book itself, the lady curses up a storm. I mean, she's a PhD therapist and all, but she curses up a storm. So if you're sensitive, it's not the book for you. But I think I get what her point is, because when you're going through trauma or you're going through some shit, you ain't trying to be PC. You're just mad at hell, and if the book is cursing you for it, I guess it would be a release. So I get her strategy, especially if you're in the middle of it. It's definitely a good read. But once you understand how the amygdala unchecked, or the amygdala that hasn't been allowed to heal, can be really self-sabotaging. Not that it's trying to sabotage, it's just trying to keep you alive, but there is a disconnect between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. And if you haven't done the work prior to the trigger, amygdala will win every time. Shoo. Because the amygdala equals subconscious. It's the same thing. But I think the imagery of the Incredible Hulk in your brain, or King Kong up going crazy in your brain, because the amygdala controls the thalamus. The thalamus controls all the chemical reactions, because it will make you feel crazy. It will have your heart pumping. It will just make you feel crazy, make you feel sick. Now, if it's in a continuous state of alert, this is how people get sick, depressed, because everything is firing, and firing not in a good way. So I thought that was, it's a good read, especially if you're trying to be self-aware. And in combination with everything else, if you sit down and you break down your life, because we're not usually in crisis in all aspects of life. It's usually maybe we're good at ABC, but we suck at D. So focus on D, look into D. We're good at ABC, but we suck at finances. What is the story that is in the amygdala to do with finances? If you search deep enough, you find that probably it's got to do with way back when you were a kid, and how finances was handled in the home, or just a whole bunch of that. If you can get to the root cause and rewrite the story, right, and over time impress upon the amygdala the new story, when you're triggered, the amygdala, you'll be able to catch the amygdala before it goes off the rails. The flip side of it is, if you can imagine that you can get the Incredible Hulk or King Kong to be on your side, you're winning. But in order to do that, you really have to be able to practice the communication, or strengthening the communication between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala and brainstem. Well, brainstem actually reacts, after the chemicals are released based on the amygdala. So if you can get that all taken care of, you have a better chance of success. And which is why I'm always focusing on the fact that it's a thought process. It's success in everything. You really have to be able to change your mindset, because your mindset is everything. And once you change your mindset, you assess with the prefrontal cortex, okay, we're trying to go X. And in order to go X, we need to be whatever degrees X, flying a plane, the gadgets, whatever, 30 degrees south, whatever, in order to get at destination X. So, and this is why you have your GPS on, because your GPS is constantly navigating and checking to see if you're on target or you're sticking to the route. Because remember, if you're flying from California to New York, that's a long freaking way. Very easy to go off course, but your GPS is always bringing you back. You may go 2 degrees this way, 2 degrees that way. Hopefully you're not going too much, because you end up wasting so much energy if you're going zigzag. Hopefully, it's a very narrow margin, but you get to where you're going first. But you have to be very aware of what your mindset is. Change your mindset. know what your limiting beliefs are, go in there and rewrite that story to get success. If you listen to all these people who have, made great strides and have been very successful, at some point in their lives, they will always say, I had to change my mindset. So, and your mindset has a lot to do. Amygdala, don't front on her. She will wreck your life. She will so wreck your life. But you gotta use her to your advantage as opposed to your disadvantage, because there's no fighting the amygdala. You will lose every time, because it is the subconscious. It runs everything. So now what you're trying to do is kind of stealthily get in there and take control. Strengthen the communication between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, so that there's no more Incredible Hulk up in your brain and driving things crazy. So, and then when people think changing mindset, it can be overwhelming, because you're thinking, what are they talking about? I guess if you break down your life into different aspects, fitness, finance, romance, whatever, all, break it down into different aspects, and then in each aspect or each different department, assess where you're at, right? Finance wise, you could be doing very well. Career wise, you could be on target. Romantically, maybe not so much. Okay, so what are my beliefs about this? What are the touch points? How can I rewrite the story? You know what I'm saying? Fitness, maybe not so good, but what do you gain by making so much money and you're too unfit to enjoy it, or you die super fast because you weren't taking? So it's a balance in everything. So if fitness is the issue, usually, there will be some underlying stuff going on there. You know what I'm saying? If you can get to the root cause in each one and get you some atomic habits, not big shit. It's a marathon, not a race. Atomic habits that you build on all the time to kind of get, every day you're making a minute improvement. Every day you're taking a step towards your target goal. We know, where we're going. Before you know it, by the end of the year, you've moved forward, and you'll be amazed at how much you've achieved. However, when you're unaware and you're just floating in life, waiting on chance or fate, it can be very frustrating. It's just, it can be very frustrating and non-ending. So I thought that was a very interesting book. It was a very interesting book, but I finished that. Then I went back to my favorite book, Atomic Habits. But everything kind of layers in, because every time you read it, you kind of get more nuggets, juicy nuggets. And what stood out to me was the fact that our results are a lagging measure of our habits. Your state of health is a lagging measure of your health habits. So if you're overweight, hey, it's a result of your habits that have led you there. No one else's fault. Boo, that's usually hard to hear. If you're in a financial mess, it's usually a result of your financial habits. Maybe you're brunching every weekend. Boo. Maybe let's try once a month brunch. And then maybe we don't have to brunch at the Four Seasons. We can bring it down a little. You know what I'm saying? Heck, you know what? Instead of brunching at the Four Seasons, how about if you have a set of friends, you rotate the brunching. Today it's at this house, this person's house, next day at this person's house. If everyone contributes, I don't know, $25, and you buy stuff, different themes, 4 of you, $100 for the brunch, you could probably get a lot of food for that $100. But if you're brunching at each other's houses, it's probably a lot cheaper, because you're only spending $25. It's a lot cheaper than it would if you go out and get you all those mimosas, or maybe everybody brings a pot or something. I don't know. You got to think outside the box, because if you're in a financial mess, you have to find a way that's not necessarily painful and undoable. Because if it's too painful and undoable, chances are you're not going to do it, which James talks about a lot. You know, there's got to be a reward for it that makes you want to do it. Because if there's 4 of you, usually when you see people brunching, there's a big group. There's more than 4. So if there's more than 4 people and you work only once a month, it will be 2 months before they come back to your house, but you would have saved money. And I guess you have to be not so busy if you can afford to brunch every weekend. But if you now think of it, if you're brunching once a month, you done cut your brunch lunch down drastically. But if you're going out every weekend, maybe not. Buying a new outfit every weekend to go out, maybe not. If you're addicted to the gram, you can't wear anything twice because people have seen it. Ooh, that might be a problem, because I'm gonna wear my stuff till the wheels fall off, till I've gotten my money's worth. I'm gonna wear it every freaking day if I like it and I want to. But anyhow, I've been here for a minute, so it's time to go. And this car is kind of getting hot. I turned it off because I didn't want the air conditioning sound to be all up in my video. But anyhow, thank you for stopping by Bougie Chronicles here at F Squad, where we focus on being over 40, fit, fine, and fabulous. Please remember to like the video, share it, subscribe, and press that notification button so you can be kept up to par, updated whenever I release a new video. From me to you, deuces.